Good morning, friends. I hope you're well. Like somebody said above in the chat, welcome to another maggot-free day above the dirt. Not to be taken for granted. I tested positive for COVID yesterday for my fifth time around the block with COVID. Seems not to be too bad. Just seems, I don't know if it's lighter every time. This seems a bit heavier than the third or fourth times that I had it. But basically just feels kind of fluey and a bit rough. But c'est la vie. Hanging in there. I don't think I'll be doing much today other than this. Yeah. So welcome wherever you are, however you are. Breath. We've been looking at different dimensions of breath this week, different ways of accessing essential aspects of life through accessing breath. Not just the life and death of everything contained in the breath, the arising and passing of everything, expansiveness of life's dynamism, the nature of everything that is to come to rest or to come to peace, etc. So I thought we'd just continue that theme today, just with breath. And I was reminded, maybe you've heard me mention this before, when I was first in Thailand, in Ajahn Buddhadasa's monastery, we were being taught by the abbot of the monastery, Ajahn Po. And Ajahn Po was very, very beautiful, inspiring old monk. Just, it's hard to explain, really. I won't get into much detail about how he was inspiring, because he didn't speak very much English. And when he did try to speak English, it was hard to understand him. And yet, nevertheless, I feel like I got such a lot of teaching from him. But, most of it wasn't very verbal. It was mostly just a lot of quality of just simplicity and steadiness and a lot of goodness. He had a radiant countenance. And, I'd ask him a question sometimes, and he would just look at me. And he didn't really answer. I'd just say, "Oh, Ajahn, this is going on, that's going on." And he'd just look at me like, "Oh, yeah." A lot of metta in the looking. "Oh, yeah." Like, looked at me as if to say, it felt like to me like his eyes were saying, "Oh, yeah, this is dukkha." Looking at me to say, "Yeah, it's hard sometimes to be human." Looking at me as if to say, just like, "Oh, yeah, it's not easy, is it? Being in a human mind or a human body, human life sometimes." And by that quality of compassionate gaze and the teaching that was there in his eyes, it was like giving me instruction and giving me permission to just be tender with my experience. More important, I was talking to just a few people about this week, but often more important than trying to understand what's happening with you is just taking care of what's happening with you. Just offering your experience, metta, offering your experience some tender, gentle, allowing care and attention. And the quality of that attention can often allow that which is unresolved or painful or agitated in you to be met. And in that being met, to unravel a little and to soften and to resolve. It's worth us remembering. because we often want to fix it, solve it, understand it, get rid of it, manage it, control it. What about just loving it a little bit? What about just letting ourselves care? So I actually wasn't going to speak about Ajahn Po, although that ties in very well. I was going to speak about Tandusadi, who was a young monk who did speak some English. And so sometimes when Ajahn Po was not available in the monastery, Tandusadi would come to teach the foreigners that were there. And his meditation instruction was very simple. Right? And I was reminded of it, as I say, because we've been exploring breath. His meditation instruction was, breathe in, smile. Breathe out, relax. And I remember like a whole 10-day silent practice period with him. I don't know if he gave us any more instruction than that. Probably he did, but that was it. In my memory, that was all we got. Breathe in, smile. Breathe out, relax. What if we were allowed to allow ourselves that quality of simplicity, of faith, just a faith that it's good to sit here and be to be really in kinship with one's own experience. That it's good, to just care for what's happening. Breathe in, smile. Physiologically, we've probably seen this stuff, the research that's been done. Just to physiologically smile releases endorphins, serotonin, feel-good chemicals in the brain. Oh, breathe in, smile. Breathe out, relax. It sounds very simple. Maybe it sounds simplistic, but it's the heart of the Dhamma teachings about not taking oneself so personally, not taking one's material so seriously. You breathe in, smile. It's like whatever's happening, it's the sense of smiling at one's life, smiling at one's experience, what I was just saying earlier about caring for what's here. It's not the denial that there's great difficulty, that we might not feel like smiling. We might be experiencing, difficulty of one kind or another, physical or emotional or whatever, situational, relational. But there's something in the willingness to kind of receive what's on our plate right now that is like, oh, this is how to make sense of life. This is how to actually honor life. And this is actually how to feel like I'm in a kind of sane, wise, fluid relationship with life. I'm like, oh, the willingness. This is what life's giving me at the moment. Let me give it enough care and attention and respect to feel it, be close to it, explore it. Let it pass. Let it pass. Let it pass. We often think, because we have language of letting go or non-attachment, I actually tend to not use either of those phrases very much. Letting go, I think, is an unfortunate translation in some ways for anupadana, means non-clinging, really. Because what we hear is the go part. No, I just got to let go. I want to be non-attached. And we think that letting go is, to come away from. We think that non-attachment is separation from. I hear about renunciation in the tradition, right? So you think that renunciation is to to let go of things, to stop engaging with things, to not have things, to not be with things. Whereas actually letting go on attachment, renunciation, non-clinging, anupadana, it's realizing that things pass. Things pass. Everything passes. Everything passes. Everything passes. When we realize that everything passes, then we don't need to let go in that kind of way. We don't need to generate any friction. It's like, oh, this passes. And so while it's here, whatever it is, for however long or brief it's here, let me give life itself the care and attention and respect of tending to that which is passing through right now. So a way of describing that is breathe in, smile, breathe out, relax, and stay close. Stay close to that which is passing. Stay close to yourself. So there's lots of ways to work with breathing. We've explored some of them, right? 5 mornings, 5 this week, 5 different ways. There's also, there are some practices that are more cognitively complex. Maybe you're familiar with Tonglen, for example, when I'm breathing in, it's a more Tibetan style practice, breathing in. So breathes in the trouble of the world. One breathes in the suffering of others. And then one breathes out a sense of, breathes out an offering of peace and ease to others, etc. Very nice. Some people find that practice to be helpful. Some people find that practice to be overwhelming as well. So I think it's, even though it's been popularized, that practice more recently, I think it's best practiced with somebody, one who is very, 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 very familiar with the practice, and secondly, who is actually familiar with you and your practice as well. I can see, it depends what resources one has. If one has a lot of resources, like we were speaking about yesterday with resources, a lot of resources of steadiness, trust, confidence in one's practice, and you might find it useful to breathe in all the suffering of the world and breathe in, and sensing of one's own organism, the visualizing or offering of one's own organism as this kind of purificatory medium for all the suffering of the world. But if your resources are not there, if you're not so well established in that kind of steadiness and confidence, then that kind of thing can sometimes be overwhelming as well for some. My preference is generally always for practices that are not so cognitive, not so conceptual, don't require visualizing something, but are more just like being with what's already here. So I would propose that we breathe in and smile, breathe out, relax, and that we foster, as we sit together, this certain qualities of simplicity, of openness, and we feel for that sense of a kind of intimacy with life, our way of sitting here and of breathing as a way of honoring life. And in that spirit, maybe we might chant a little bit for a few minutes on the way into the sitting. We could just chant the same chant that I was doing before we went live this morning, which is just metta to all. There's 4 little parts to the kind of melody. Metta to all, metta to all, metta to all, metta to all. So a few minutes of that, and finding our way into sitting. So please, friends, take your seat for meditation. Metta to all, metta to all, metta to all, metta to all, metatuo, 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 metatuo. Breathe in, smile. Breathe out, relax. Letting the in-breath enter into an atmosphere of welcome, of care, of metta. Letting the out-breath express a sense of gentleness, ease, relaxation. In this way then, meeting the breath moment by moment. And within meeting the breath, meeting life moment by moment. Whatever appears with the in-breath. Whatever vanishes with the out-breath. whatever passes through awareness. Breathe in, smile. Breathe out, relax. whatever's here in the atmosphere of your experience, whatever mind state, whatever tensions, whatever concerns, how they're affected by the simplicity of just breathing in with a smile, breathing out and relaxing. Whatever's going on right now, is it possible that your awareness can be a meta field, a field of friendliness, of welcome, of allowing that which is passing? Just like this. Breathe in, smile, welcome, allow, receive. Breathe out, relax, soften. And see if it's possible, moment by moment, breath by breath, and to see if this smiling and welcoming on the in-breath, this softening and relaxing on the out-breath, gives you a flavor of this quality of a kind of honoring what is. A flavor of an intimacy and an alignment with life. A way of being non-contentious with what's happening. A way of dissolving friction. And therefore of tasting freeness, fluidity, ease. In the last minutes of the sitting, just consider these days, this week, sitting together, practicing together, supporting one another. And just letting all of that be part of the field of your practice, part of this metta field. And the many kindnesses expressed in the chat. A very real sense of sangha, of community. It's here even though we're geographically displaced from one another. Just a moment to take in both the goodness of being supported, receiving teachings, practices, support from each other. And yet also, and equally importantly, an opportunity to take in a sense, to acknowledge the sense of your own goodness. Just through showing up here, your own expressions of kindness and support. Your willingness to sit with your experience when it's sometimes maybe not easy. A moment to really acknowledge and to take in the goodness of your practice. The goodness of your heart. The goodness of your primary intentions. The goodness of your life. May we all really see and know the goodness of our lives. May we trust that goodness, rest in that goodness, so that we feel increasingly able, more and more effortlessly able to offer that same goodness to those around us. May our lives be lived in our basic goodness. Easy expressions of our basic goodness. May we all know what it is really to breathe in and smile, whatever the circumstance, and to breathe out and relax. May we all know the freeness that is the true promise and the real possibility of our practice and of our life. All right. Here's another little guest appearance by Priya, who's came to join me this morning. Yes. I think that's every morning this week. She's just come in halfway through meditation, come to hang out, come to drink in the goodness of our practice. Come to breathe in, seem unconcerned. Breathe out, purr. That's her style. All right. There's a little time for questions. Two things before we get into the questions. One, I'll be here tomorrow, or here. I'll be doing something on Sangha Live tomorrow. There is a day of practice, 3 hours. And the theme is your life is your practice. And so we'll be looking at integrative stuff for bringing the practice we love into the life we live and doing some integrative practices together. So please feel free to join me. And maybe George could even put it in the link there. If you have it, George. If you don't, you must find that link. If you're here, you're in the kind of Sangha Live network or mailing list or something, so you'll receive that. But there you go. Feel free to come along and join me. And then the second thing is that it's Friday, and Friday is the day I bang the Dana drum. So just a reminder, that all this is freely offered and needs to be supported. And there is no support for Sangha Live other than your support. The only income that Sangha Live has to keep the lights on and keep the website going and keep the correspondence happening and keep all of the many thousands of dollars of costs every month that are there and overheads is through Dana, your Dana. It's kind of beautiful that it can work like that, and it's precarious, but this is how it works. So if you've benefited from being here this week, if you want others to be able to benefit from teachings and practices in the future, please feel free. And however much you feel able to offer, however little you feel able to offer, my request is please feel the goodness in your offering. You make an offering, you offer, a substantial amount, or you offer just a few euros or whatever it might be. But, you offer in accordance with your wish, with your capacity, and with your heart. That's good. Whatever it is, the very fact that you're making an offering, right? Whatever your capacity is to offer, whatever the amount is you can offer, the fact that you align your wish to support with your actions of support, that's beautiful. So if you make a Dana offering today, thank you. And please, so that you get the benefit of the offering as well as we getting the benefit, please just to connect with that feeling of goodness, support, offering, in the movement. So you feel the goodness that's in it. Thank you. All right. Let's have a look. Questions. Have I missed one? I thought there was one further up from... Okay. I don't know what's happened to the questions. I missed some, I think. Oh, here we go. Back to the top. Eleanor says, the more I accept impermanence, the less I seem to have enthusiasm towards engagements and activities. Is that a normal side effect? Depends, I would say, Eleanor. It may be. It depends what the engagements and activities are. If you're starting to feel that what you have hitherto been engaged with is actually not very aligned with your deepest values, or not very actually fulfilling, and if you accept that it was engagements and activities that were more aligned with what you thought others wanted from you or something like that, then yeah, it might well be the case that those things they sort of lose their interest in some way, appropriately so. But if it's more a general sense of an increasing sense of apathy or lethargy or can't be botheredness, then I would say, no, there's something else going on that might need some investigation. There's something else. And the way to see about that is to really let yourself enter into the state with curiosity, rather than just, oh, it's like this. I feel, it's like, oh, I feel that lethargy. How come? Just to be really curious. And particularly to notice if there's some areas or zones in the physical field that feel flat or dull or numb, and to really see, oh, what's it like if you enter into those areas? That's knowing you a little bit Eleanor. And just knowing the territory of the question, see if that's helpful. All right. Nicholas says, a Qigong teacher once said that we can over-breathe. Do you have any idea of what we can meant? Yeah. So we can, just like we can under-breathe. Sometimes people are tense in the belly and the breathing is sort of rather shallow in the chest. Sometimes we can over-breathe. Like, for example, sometimes when people can't sleep at night, they're just a little over-revved. And even in trying to relax, it's like it's too much. It's like they're taking in too much oxygen, actually, and it's like you're overstimulating your nervous system. So, in meditation, it's most helpful is not to be too concerned about over-breathing or under-breathing or how you're breathing or any idea that there's a right way of breathing. Let it happen. And the best way to let it happen is nevertheless to have a posture, which we went through one of the days this week. I went through posture, maybe it was yesterday, upright, open, relaxed, so that air can move freely. And it will if your posture's basically good and your practice is one of relaxing, your breath will tend towards ease and fluidity. It will tend towards ease and fluidity. But along the way, you might encounter your tendency to control the breath, to over-breathe, to retain tension in your belly and breathe very shallowly, etc. So it's best not to see those, if you encounter them, as problems to be fixed, like we were saying earlier this morning, but just rather things to be offered some care and attention. You offer care and attention to a tight breath or to over-breathing or whatever. The care and attention is affective. Care and attention will affect the breath and it will tend towards softening, opening, easing, flowing. Voila. What else? I'm not sure I've managed to track many of the questions today. Anouk, Lynn says, I don't have the capacity to take in a lot of air when I inhale. Do you think I should practice deepening my in-breaths to deepen the experience of breathing, or just accept your natural breathing is shallow? You don't need at any way to deepen your in-breath in order to deepen your experience. So often in meditation, as we settle and relax, breath can become very, very, very subtle. Sometimes we feel we're hardly breathing at all, and the physical breath is barely detectable. Right? That doesn't mean the experience is barely detectable or barely happening. No, the intention can go into subtlety. It's like a microscope. If I showed you just like a hair, anything, I pick up. I don't know if you can see. There is a little hair there. If I pick up, I think, what's this? You see, nothing interesting there. But if you had a microscope and you looked very, very closely, you would see like the molecular makeup of this hair, right? Oh, there's a lot going on in there. Same with breath. It's not about how much you're breathing. It's about how subtle and intimate your attention is. If your attention is like a microscope, right? It goes in and in. There's a whole world going on in the breath. So don't worry about how deep or shallow, rough or smooth, long or short your breath is. But do establish a posture that's really favorable, right? If you're compressed and slumped, that's not favorable to an easeful breath because you're compressing your diaphragm and if your shoulders are slumped forward and you're defended in your chest, that's not favorable. If you're overextended and rigid, not favorable. Right? So upright, open, relaxed, and then let your breath do whatever it does. If you want to go back and look at Monday's session, if you weren't here, in Monday's session, we looked at intentional breathing for a few minutes at the beginning of meditation, different ways of like intentional sighing, for example, as a way to just to kind of open up if we think we're tense, as a way to open up and kind of stimulate and get things flowing. So you might do a few minutes of intentional breathing, really expanding the lower belly, the in-breath, really sighing. It can be helpful. But then that's sort of pre-meditation, or that's a kind of ramp into meditation. Then let your breathing be natural. Let your attention come in, and watch out for the tendency to fret or fixate about trying to get it right, trying to get the breath right. There is no right breath. And every breath is different. Every breath is a different length. Breath is not completely regular. It's not like, oh, now I've got it. Now this is the right breath. In, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3, 4. No, it's not like that. It's just every breath is different. And the expectation of a regular breath, a steady breath, a particular breath, it's part of our tendency to expect continuity and regularity in a world which doesn't really have much continuity or regularity to it. It has constant flux to it. All right. Oh, that's good, Ruth. I'm just noticing Ruth's comment there at the bottom about shift in posture, which is neither overextended or slumped. Wonderful. Great. Anouk says, est-ce que le lâcher prise et l'acceptation parlent de la même chose? Does letting go and acceptance speak about the same thing? I tend not to use the word acceptance, Anouk, because I think it suggests passivity to people. Oh, you just got to accept. Oh, some things are not to be accepted, you know. So it's acknowledgement, right? That's the smile bit. Breathe in, smile. It's like come into relationship with what's happening, right? Come into relationship with what's happening. That doesn't mean that you accept. I mean, it might be just semantic. You have to see if acceptance for you means just like, oh, okay, let it in, let me be with it, let me connect to it, let me find out about it, then yes, wonderful. But sometimes, as I say, acceptance to some people suggests a sort of passivity. Oh, I've just got to accept it. You know, I'm in a bad situation. I've just got to accept it. Oh, I'm ill. I've just got to accept it. I mean, yes, you have to accept it, but you can also do something about it. So it's just to be aware of the passivity. Yeah. And then Dan says, can you unpack the nuance of the breathe in smile? Teaching some more. The difference between this and the neo-spiritual TikTok dharma of good vibes only. Well, I think I did just then in a way, right? That breathe it, smile means come into relationship. So the danger, like I pointed to a couple of times, is that we can have the objection is, what about all the things that are, you know, not to be smiled at? What about the pain, etc., etc.? So physical pain, situational pain, whether in meditation or whether in life, there's plenty of things that we don't like, right? So, for example, I've got COVID at the moment. Just physical reality is quite uncomfortable. My throat hurts, my chest is tight, my mind is all foggy, right? Uncomfortable. So I don't like it, but it's, so the suggestion would be, it's not just a blind kind of smile. Oh, just smile, I have COVID, right? But then the practice would be, what does it mean to smile at COVID in this case? What does it mean to smile at misfortune? What does it mean? What is a way I can find, where I recognize, oh, this is a wise, kind relationship to what's happening, right? I don't have to like it. Some things are absolutely not likable. Is there a way they're still lovable, right? Is there a way I can smile, not in a way that, you know, where I don't have any boundaries, not in a way where I'm in denial of that which is painful or difficult, but in a way that I'm not pushing anything out of my heart, in a way that I'm not holding myself in a way that's rigid or apart or resistant. So in that sense, it sounds a very simple practice. Breathe in, smile, breathe out, relax. But maybe it's actually a radical, subtle, deep, and sometimes maybe difficult practice. All right, friends. Not sure how many of the questions I got through, but thank you for your interest. Thank you for the goodness of your practice. Thank you for your participation all week. Please feel free to join me tomorrow. Maybe I'll be in slightly further through the other side of the COVID by then and in bright form. Let's see. Thank you for your dana. George will put the ending screen up now and you'll be able to see the link for the dana if you wish to offer. Thank you. Take care. Metta to all. See you.